Your main task for this topic on corporate culture will be getting a case study or a business and coming up with actual strategies to develop a positive corporate culture. What can you do to create a really good corporate culture? And there's no set list here. These are just sort of summarizing from a few different textbooks and a bit of logic, some things you can do. So we'll go through these one by one and we'll say some strategies you can use are the selection and training of people, the management style you use and the manager's role modeling the desired behavior. You can use formal written communications and mission, vision, and value statements, opportunities to socialize and to work in teams. You can implement specific policies to create a culture, a certain physical environment and material symbols, what people can see in the workplace and how it's set out. And lastly, the stories, narratives, and rituals you have at the workplace. So let's just take each one by one. So some things you can do are selection and training of people. You should, when you're starting to create a team at work, when you're hiring people, you should employ people who share the core values of the business. That will create a consistent corporate culture. So what does that mean? It means, well, when you're choosing, you've got 100 applicants for 2 positions, you're choosing the 2 people who are the right people, that they fit your culture. But maybe people don't fit 100%. You can actually train people in what the desired culture is. Like actually tell them, here is what we believe is important and here's how you can mirror that. And you can also then terminate people who don't fit the culture. So people who, not necessarily do something wrong, but maybe just aren't a good cultural fit, well, you can terminate them. And then you've got a nice consistent pool of people who all exhibit the same shared values and beliefs. Well, that's what corporate culture is. Now, if you're the manager, you can adjust your management style, which is actually a later topic for us. So don't worry about that too much for now. We'll come back to it. But what we'll say is you pick the way you manage people should match the corporate culture. For example, if the culture at the workplace is focused on performance and efficiency, you should use what we call an autocratic style. And we'll learn that that basically means that you tell people what to do without a lot of input. It's, clear, concrete instructions. That's not a bad thing. That's just a type of way of managing people, and that might suit your culture. Or maybe your culture is more focused on creativity and teamwork. You should use maybe what we call a participative style, a more open style, which seeks feedback from people. So whatever the culture is, try and match that with your management style, but also by role modeling the desired behavior. So the people at the workplace look to the managers as examples. So if you're the manager and you do the right things and don't do the wrong things, then employees are going to copy you and also do the right things. Another strategy is, you can put on your website, just like Facebook does or any big business, official documents and communications to reflect the corporate culture. So letterheads, reports, logos, etc., but also the language used in it. And they can formally document aspects of the culture. And what they are is they're things that people and employees can see and go and look up to identify, here's what they think the culture is and what I need to do to sort of fit that culture. You can also provide opportunities to socialize and to work in teams. The definition of culture was shared values and beliefs. The best way to get people to share things, anything, but particularly a culture or shared values, is to get them to socialize. So create opportunities, works functions, events and parties, etc. How do you do that now with COVID and a lot of people working from home? That's really tough for businesses. How do you get people to interact, become friends, but also learn from each other a particular culture? Another one you can do is, rather than getting people to work on their own, get them to work in teams. When people work in teams, they work together and that creates a culture. We've also got the implementation of policies. You can literally create documents that say, here's the culture and here's the steps to implement it. So it could be in terms of how customers are served. So you say, we have a set policy that when you approach a customer, you have to say this. You have to offer them that. You have to use these words, these types of open questions, for example. And what that does is it establishes consistency in behavior. If everyone follows the policy, everyone within the business acts the same way, and that's going to create a consistent culture. And what you want to do is break that down into a series of steps, e.g. at McDonald's. When you order at McDonald's, any McDonald's anywhere, it's a service culture, and usually the questions are the same. So you order a burger and a chips and a drink separately. The culture, it's a customer service culture. The person at McDonald's is encouraged to go, would you like to turn that into a meal? You'll save money doing it that way. And that's just taking a policy, breaking it down into a series of steps so everybody acts the same. And what it does is ultimately it specifies the acceptable and unacceptable behaviors of the business. A really good one, and we'll watch some videos in class at school, is how this is done at Google and Facebook. Set out the physical environment and material symbols to represent the corporate culture. For example, if it's an office, have an open plan office instead of cubicles. That promotes communication, team building, creativity, and collaboration. But also the size of the offices and desks for managers versus those for employees. It sort of indicates who is and isn't important. And as we'll see at the Google head office, if you value your people and want a culture that encourages people to socialize and get together, have cafeterias, kitchenettes, dinings, and entertainment areas. Places where people can get together and play games and share meals and so on. And also the color and design. Certain colors emphasize this, but the way the workplace is designed too, and the way it's set out. And if it's a place that has uniforms, so maybe a retail store, the type of uniform is a material symbol. That sets out clearly what the culture is. Is it a laid-back culture where employees can wear whatever they want? Or is it, employees have to dress it the exact same way so everybody looks the same? So that's different cultures. And lastly, you can create stories, narratives, and rituals. What that means is if you are a fan of Apple, you might have heard the story that we've all heard about how it started in a garage in San Bernardino with the two Steves, that sort of thing, right? That's a story or a narrative. And what that does is it signifies to people the significant people and events from the history of the business, and it creates legends. Here's what people did in this business to make it great. Here's what the leaders did, and you should follow that. Rituals can also be created which express the key values and expectations. For example, if someone goes above and beyond to help a customer, you can have an award ceremony to make them feel good, but also send an indication to all the other people, this is our culture and this is what we what we want our people to do. Prizes and rewards are another way. You can recognize certain behavior which fits the culture by actually giving employees prizes and rewards. And what that does is it creates an overall set of stories, narratives, and rituals which says this is what our culture is, and you hand that down to the next person in the business, who hands it down to the next person in the business, and over time, that's what the culture is. It's just a series of stories and narratives that people have handed down to each other over time.